Where do you want to talk about the stuff?
I don't know, dude. We'll get past the disclaimer and we'll just dive in.
All right. All right. You got the intro?
Yeah.
Who are we?
Is it Anthony Scaramucci? Is that his first name?
I think so. Hang on. Anthony Scaramucci, yeah.
Okay.
Although Sean, do what?
And Reince Priebus and Sean Spicer and it should
Mike
be Sean
Flynn.
Spicer. It should be Sean Spicer and Anthony Scaramucci.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yeah, that's who we should be.
Yeah. Although Sean Spicer and the Mooch sounds like a couple morning radio show hosts. Sean Spicer and the Mooch. Sean Spicer and the Mooch in the morning.
Okay, I got it.
KRWZZ17. It's just crazy, wacko, goofy sound effects going off in the background. Way too energetic.
I could actually do that.
It's oh god, it's like 7:30 in the morning. And these bombastic buttholes on the radio won't shut the hell up. That's why I listen to NPR in the mornings, man. I can't deal with something like that. I need something mellow to move into the day.
Yo, 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 yo.
Oh god, that's awful. Yeah, that's terrible.
Yo, 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 yo.
I don't have it run through the stereo, so you're not getting as much volume as I could.
Yo, go. Yo, yo, yo.
Okay, please stop.
Yo, I haven't begun yet.
Oh, jeez. You could run that through your system and into the computer.
Well, we discussed that at one time around Christmas and
yeah,
decided against it, but it's coming.
Well, we could, we don't have to use those exact clips. We can use whatever.
Dude, I have like 250 clips in there.
Yeah.
Plus, I can download more and add my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're Sean Spicer and Anthony Scaramucci, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. It was a long, strange trip.
I need this. I need this laugh.
Oh Lord. Okay. Okay. Let's jam. You get the intro ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
What is up? This is the 6 Month Behind podcast for the week of 7/24/17. I am Pat.
And I am Sean.
And this week we're Anthony Scaramucci and Sean Spicer. We're excited.
Yes, we ain't got no jobs, except we do.
Mooch and Spicer in the morning.
Mooch and Spicer in the morning.
Yo, yo, yo.
Okay. What did we decide was coming at you? WYKR radio. Because we suck. And we've both been fired.
So now you're going to put us on the radio.
There you go, because it's all we have to do is sit around and record podcasts because we're both unemployed. At least one of us has money.
Yeah. Although that's something Sean Spicer could do. I could see him ending up with his own show on CNN or The Blaze.
The Blaze.
I mean,
The Blaze.
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh.
For people who don't keep up with U.S. politics. They have no idea what we're talking about right now.
None whatsoever. No. These are two distinguished members of Donald Trump's administration who, in a very undistinguished manner, have both been fired in the last week.
Yeah. One guy held his post for 10 days.
Dude, it wasn't 10. It was like 5 or 6.
I think it was 10, but
No, it wasn't 10. It was much shorter than that. The email is
6 months behind at gmail.com. That's the number 6 months behind at gmail.com. If you want to tell us what you think of Sean Spicer and the Mooch in the morning, and if you think that concept as a morning show would be great, hit us up on Twitter at 6 months behind.
The website is www.6monthsbehind.com, where I was sitting there today, and yeah, it seems like every week we complain about this, but we both lead busy lives, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm trying to get dude, I'm still trying to get July's covers in the website, on the website. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, kind of hate doing this because it's just, there was like 60 US Avengers and there's like a dozen Monsters Unleashed. And I'm just like, who freaking cares? And then I get to that Captain Marvel cover, and then I get to that Gamora cover. Okay. And those are both on the website right now with a link back to the alternate covers, which still aren't complete if you follow the link. But that Gamora cover and that Captain Marvel cover looks so good, and they're not what you're going to see. They're not what you're going to see in the book, in Marvel Unlimited. As far as I know, the only place you're going to find them without actively searching for them is our website. And I looked at those and I was like, wow, this is why I do this, because these just look so good and people don't get to see them otherwise.
Yeah. I was particularly impressed with this Gamora cover. It's like a close up of her face, and she's looking real fierce, and she's holding up a knife and the knife covers half of her face. And in the reflection of the knife is a skull. And it's just really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. So that's on the website this week. We also have another podcast called What's Next. I think last week we did the Winter Soldier, and we did House of M last week.
Yeah.
Is it up?
Yeah.
Well, you didn't tell me.
It's been up for like 4 days.
Dude, you didn't tell me, so I haven't put it on the website yet.
Oh, oops.
Okay.
Well, it's there. If you please go listen to it.
Well, it's on the SoundCloud. It'll be on the website.
Yeah, it's on the feed. So
there's not a lot of notes to go with it, but I'll get it up there. What's next this week will be the Defenders, and you and I had a phone conversation today discussing what a cluster trying to read about the Defenders is, but we're going to discuss the Defenders. We also do disclaimers on the show, or disclaimers. We also do spoilers on the show, so you now have a disclaimer from the Mooch and the Spice in the Morning, saying that anything that we possibly discuss, you've been forewarned about, because last week's rant was about pious coaches. This week's rant is about an editor at Marvel. And so when we get to talking, there's no telling what we may talk about and how it may spill over, because while we try and keep everything 6 months behind, and we try not to give you spoilers, when we get to talking about current events like this story we're fixing to discuss, there's no telling where it may go. So you've been warned.
Precisely.
With that being said, tell us what the nerds did this week.
So the developing news in the nerd world this week has been, what's her name? Heather Antos?
Yes, I believe.
Yeah. She's an editor who works at Marvel. In fact, I didn't even know who she was before this.
I don't think anyone, that was kind of the thing. It's not like she's a major writer.
Yeah, this is not Brian Michael Bendis or, yeah.
Right. This isn't Dan Slott or somebody like that, Jason Aaron. This is just some random editor just out. Okay, yeah. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, she just works in the office.
Yeah, she's not Tom Briefport, signing off on making Captain America a Nazi. Yeah,
Right.
It's not her.
Or Alex Alonso.
Yeah, she's just some random editor. Continue. Sorry for interrupting.
Her and her work friends went out for milkshakes after work Friday, and she took a picture with all of them and put it on her, I believe it was her Instagram or Twitter. She put it on social media, which is a perfectly normal behavior. And then she was descended upon by an avalanche of these assholes who just berated her for existing, for going out and having milkshakes, for working at Marvel, for being a woman that works at Marvel. She got the blame for being, the reason that people are not necessarily happy with Marvel Comics right now, and all of these horrible things for posting a picture of herself and her friends.
And those are the nice things that were said about her. We're not discussing the death threats, all the other threats that were there on her feed. Those were the nice things that were said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're here to give you a little public service announcement. Knock it the heck off, guys.
Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, what's your problem? It's and you and I talked about it a little bit earlier. It's just, we don't understand it. Why? She has nothing to do with anything. You just berate her for no reason.
Just randomly attack some girl some young lady that happens to work at Marvel. Just,
right. You verbally assaulted the woman.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wouldn't do this in public. I don't believe that anyone who said these things to her would have anywhere near the balls to do this in public, or even to her face in private. They wouldn't.
No.
So.
Yeah, it's incredible. Now, what was cool? There is a flip side of this.
Yes, there is.
Is everybody came out in support of her today? When I say everyone, I mean everyone.
It went all the way up through Marvel. I mean, it was you're seeing, major heads at Marvel and Disney. What's happening is this hashtag is trending on Twitter showing solidarity to this woman, and you're seeing lots of high profile people participate in it.
Yes, and they're all showing solidarity, whether many of the artists are drawing pictures of themselves or their characters drinking milkshakes. It's yes, there is a tremendous amount of support for her. So it's really cool. That is the upside to it.
Yes. And the backlash against that harassment seems to be louder than the initial harassment, which is also nice, because I don't know what you do with knuckle dragging Neanderthal neckbeards other than just shout them down and tell them to sit down.
And they're nerds, dude. It's not like they're the cool guys in the class. They're nerds.
Yeah, these are our people. These are the people that you play Dungeons and Dragons and friggin' League of Legends with. These are the guys who you see in the comic book store. And it's strange because I've run into this sort of thing, but it's with people that I've known for a long time, and suddenly I see it in them, or they just do this one day or something like it, something akin to this. And you're just like, whoa, your whole perspective about them shifts.
I know. Anyway, we have good comics this week. We have some good comics. We have some bad comics. We have some mediocre comics.
Yeah.
We have some bad comics. But, there's some good stuff too. So we're going to get started with our IVX book of the week, unless we have another story. Was there another story? Was that it?
Oh, no, I think that was it.
Okay. We get started with it. And they build this as an IVX book, and it kind of is. Kind of, maybe. It's Uncanny Inhumans number 18. And this begins with Maximus several months ago, and for some reason, he's recruiting people to help him who happen to be Lineage and Unspoken, which I'm not familiar with at all. Were you familiar with these two characters?
I didn't read the book, so no.
That was going to be my next question. Did you read the book?
I did not.
Okay, you didn't miss anything.
Okay, so, I figured I wouldn't.
So when they begin, they plan on committing big crimes, but 6 months later, they're sitting around in the hotel room in their underwear playing, Lineage and the Unspoken are playing cards, and Maximus is sitting there bored because he can't come up with anything to do because he's done it all. He's kind of like Doom, once you've controlled the universe, what's the point?
Yeah.
So, and that's where Maximus is. He's kind of bored. And then he hears about the IVX war and how they're fighting over the Terrigen Mist. And, anyway, so he has Lineage, who apparently his ability is to reach in the past and speak to any Inhuman who's ever lived. Whether, I don't know if they're like in purgatory or in heaven, or if he's just going to the past and getting them. But so he goes and he gets a person in the past who knows how to create the Terrigen Mist. And if you saw the Deadpool book last week with Madcap, where Madcap came out of Deadpool's stomach, well, this character that Lineage finds comes out of his stomach. And Maximus makes Lineage put headphones on, throws the other guy out of the room, and Maximus and this character talk and about how to create the Terrigen crystals again. And then when they get through, Maximus kills him. The problem is he's still kind of sitting there, out of Lineage's stomach. So it's kind of gross.
Of course he kills him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From there, they set out on a mission to manufacture Terrigen Mist. To do this, they got to break Triton out of prison. Triton doesn't want to work with Maximus because he's still in prison and still in the outs with the Inhumans for the last time he worked with Maximus, but he doesn't have anything better to do, so why not?
Yeah.
Literally, that was basically his summary. Yeah, I got nothing better to do, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't great.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, man. That Uncanny Inhumans series has not been great.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. And we're going to talk about another book in a few minutes that hasn't been great either. And I was hoping for something when we reached this point. And anyway, well, let's keep going. Okay. It wasn't great.
The other event that we have is Monsters Unleashed.
This is the second. There's 3 events. You have the Clone Saga. That's
yeah, you do have the Clone Saga too. Yeah, you got that going on. So Monsters Unleashed is the it's kind of, I would compare it to your Pleasant Hill, the way Pleasant Hill was a couple months ago. Kind of just a little mini filler story until they get to a secret empire, essentially.
And this is a side note. I was reading something, I believe it was from Tom Brevoort or someone last week from Comic-Con. And this is what you're going to get. They said at least for the next 18 months, is you will get small events like this, or maybe like the Black Vortex Saga a couple of years ago, or the Pleasant Hill Saga last year.
Or even this Clone Saga and IVX thing going on.
Right. But you're not going to get a major Secret Empire Civil War type event anytime soon from Marvel. The consensus is everybody's got event fatigue. Everybody's over it. Marvel's over it. The comic book buyers are over it. So you're going to get small events like this.
Yeah, and that's the direction they need to go for a while.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm okay with that. Like, that's what I want too. Just give me, condensed, storylines. Give me 4 to 6 issue stories, and yeah.
There you go.
I don't need 12 issues and 100 tie-ins. I need a story told in this book, 4 to 6, 12 issues if you want to do a big arc.
Yeah, Pleasant Hill had an alpha book, which very well may have been Pleasant Hill Alpha. Crossed over to all the Avengers books for like 2 months, I think, and then an Omega book. It was like a beginning, crossed over everything, maybe 3 months, 2-3 months tops.
Yeah, and
then
that's
it ended. It just done.
Yeah, it was over. And I think that's what I want. So I imagine that's what everyone else is kind of wanting too. And let me just talk about the book. So it's called Monsters Unleashed. So as you might imagine, we begin with monsters falling from space and attacking all over the planet. The Avengers jump in, stop these monsters from destroying New York and pretty much every other populated city on the planet we see through a news feed. New York, London, Seattle, Wakanda, everywhere is under attack all at the same time. And it's these just crazy looking weird monsters. So why is this happening and who's responsible for it? I don't know, but it's going to have something to do with Elsa Bloodstone and this weird kid who likes drawing monsters. And also Fin Fang Foom.
I think it's the weird kid drawing monsters.
It's the weird kid drawing monsters. So at the end of the issue, well, actually at the beginning of the issue, we see just some kid drawing. And at the end of the issue, we see that he's drawing monsters and they match the ones that are falling to Earth. And so my guess is he's some kind of weird inhuman.
I don't know what he is, but I don't know. This book actually wasn't as bad as I expected it to be.
I feel the same way about it. When I heard about Monsters Unleashed a while ago, I was like, I kind of don't really like this fluff stuff. Books like this tend to be just a lot of splash pages and action panels and no real dialogue or storytelling or character development. But we might actually get something cool out of this. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. So pleasantly surprised.
It wasn't. There are times when we read a book and you think it's going to be awful. I'm going to say that about Cage this week. And it's not awful. And you're like, oh, okay. It wasn't terrible. Well, maybe that's something.
Yeah. There's a couple books like that this week.
So, I don't know what that's worth.
That's the crazy thing, man, is that
it wasn't bad. So, I guess that's all you can hope for.
Marvel's sales are so far off, but they're really doing good work. And in most places, not everything's a home run, but you and I agree that most of the stuff going on at Marvel right now is entertaining.
Yeah.
And absolutely. So, it's not the content that's off. It's something else.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's the business model. Anyway.
Yes, it is.
Moving on to our Spider-Man books, we've got the Clone Conspiracy going on, beginning with Clone Conspiracy number 4. So back at the Jackal's lab, Doc Ock still trying to solve the cellular degeneration problem with the clones. Q and Maria showing up, and that's a real awkward reunion. If you don't know what I'm talking about, back when Doc Ock was Peter Parker, the two of them dated, and she fell in love with Peter Parker, but it was actually not Peter Parker, it was Otto. But yeah, it's weird.
It's very weird.
Yeah, but also weird. Anna Maria now works for the real Peter Parker, and yeah. She's an interesting character. She's one of the more interesting characters that's been added to the cast of Spider-Man in the last 3 or 4 years. Because if you've noticed, they've really expanded the Spider family.
I was trying to find something, and I've become so confused that I'm just confused. So,
well, that happens.
Moment.
Okay. Anna Maria has an ability to fix their clone problem, or at least she thinks she has a solution to the issue. Meanwhile, the Jackal introduces Peter to all the people he's resurrected and their new homes in New U, which involves this really weird, like, town Mayberry setup thing going on in the basement. That's not creepy at all.
No.
Then he tries to kill Spider-Man because Peter doesn't really want to go along with his plan. And then there's some kind of screeching noise and all the clones start to go crazy. I don't know what that's about.
I think it's basically a self-destruct mechanism for the clones, isn't it?
I guess it could be.
Because he shot it through the TV waves also and started killing all the clones around the world.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my app was being weird. So then we move on to Amazing Spider-Man number 23, which happens pretty much at the same time Clone Conspiracy 4 does. The events that happen in Amazing Spider-Man 23 also happen in Clone Conspiracy, but differently. Essentially, it's a conversation between Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker.
I'm sitting here while you're composing yourself.
Yeah.
This is just a beautiful Alex Ross cover. I mean, I've been looking at this thing since it came out, but dude, he's just amazing. I promise you he is, man. Golly, that looks good.
It's a good cover. So anyway, Peter and Gwen go off to their own area to talk about some things. And, is she really Gwen? What happened about her death? What does she remember about it? Why she still loves Peter after all this time? Why Peter won't allow himself to be happy because he has to be Spider-Man. It's I
didn't read this.
You didn't read this?
I didn't read this.
It was pretty good.
Oh, I got to go back.
It wasn't terrible, but it was a conversation between the two of them that it was nice to see.
I got to go back and read this.
So anyway, after they wrap up their little talk, Peter and Gwen go back outside. That's when Peter goes to talk to the Jackal and doesn't go along with his plan, and he sicks all of his old enemies on him, who the Jackal's resurrected. And then that screeching starts to happen, and all the clones go weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what happened.
I didn't read Spider-Gwen 16 either.
Oh, man. Dude, all this I was going to say, all these Spider books are really good.
Then they're assigned to you, so...
Yeah, I understand.
There you go. I was... Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, man. So this picks up, Spider-Gwen 16 picks up where Miles Morales Spider-Man left off last issue, which is he's gone to Earth 65 to find his dad because Maria Hill asked him to. So Miles and Gwen are hanging out on Earth 65, and Miles explains that he's looking for his dad and how he came to be on this Earth, which is what I just explained. Ninjas ambush them on some rooftops, and Matt Murdock shows up. I don't know why. Why can't he just show up? Why do the ninjas have to attack them first and then he shows up?
I don't know.
Is it just like a power move on his part?
So, yes. He wants to be the savior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as it turns out, Miles's dad is putting a damper on Silk's operations here on Earth 65. If you don't know what Silk is, the city moon from Earth 65 is evil and created a secret spy organization called Silk to, I don't know, they're basically the antithesis of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
So Miles's dad is interrupting their operations, and if he wants Miles and Spider-Gwen to relieve Silk of this burden, take him away back to your world or whatever. So he offers them a way to sneak into this nightclub that's apparently some kind of front for Silk activity, and Miles's dad might be there. But later they go back to Gwen's place, and they're trying to figure out disguises in order to sneak into this club. And they talk about Earth 65, Peter Parker, and how different their worlds are between the two of them. Miles thinks Gwen needs somebody to talk to about all this Spider-Woman heroic stuff. They're really playing up the tension here between the two of these characters. I mean, and that's fine. Like, I don't necessarily have a problem with that at all. But they're actually doing a really good job where it's there, but it's not the main focus of the book. It's they're on a mission, but yeah, it's all right.
Sure, I'm with you.
So later, Gwen makes her way into this club. She runs across this auction, and it's basically all the stuff that Cindy Moon stole in Earth 616 and brought back here. If you remember, she was stealing power suits and,
right,
Deadpool's guns and stuff like that. The Taskmaster's shield. Unfortunately, she runs into Doc Ock and also Miles's dad.
Yes, she does, and it. I don't know. I assume it doesn't end well for her.
No, it doesn't look like it.
There you go.
Yeah, not gonna go well for her at all, I don't think. Although Miles's dad shows up at the end, so I don't know where it's going. But it's good. I like the two meeting each other and crossing over and teaming up a little bit. I always like the art in this book. Yeah, dude, Spider-Gwen's been she's been one of my favorite additions in the last couple years.
Yeah.
I think she's a clever character.
Well, I didn't get to read this issue. I'm really looking forward to it because I've liked what they've been doing with Spider-Gwen and Miles Morales. So I'm looking forward to seeing the story continue.
Yeah, same here.
There you go. Next, we have the X-Men section, or session, if you want to call the therapy I have to go through after reading this book. Therapy. Yes. It's all new X-Men number 17.
Oh, yeah. Now I remember.
Because the thing is, I thought we would finally see these guys progress to a story. And instead, this book is all about Iceman and Romeo. Again, so it's another X-Men solo book. X-Men solo book. X-Men solo book.
Yeah.
X-Men. It's a solo book of the X-Men. How about that?
Yeah. It's an X-Men book that focuses on solo characters for each issue.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see the team involved in IVX. And instead we see, first you have younger Hank McCoy coming back and explaining what he just learned at the meeting, that they're going to war with the Inhumans. Then Bobby immediately realizes the implications, and then you begin going through their dates. You go through the first date he and Romeo had, the second date he and Romeo had, the third date. And all the while they're preparing for war with the Inhumans and New Attilan. And finally it is Attilan, right?
Something like that.
Whatever.
I think it is Attilan, yeah.
Finally they attack New Attilan, and everyone thinks, okay, Iceman is on he's on board with this. They attack, and his only purpose is to get to Romeo and take him away. Just the two of them just ride off into the sunset, live happily ever after, which is what they do, which I guess is fine. I guess it's cool. I'm just like, why?
It's like that wrestling issue of Captain America a few weeks ago. Like, okay, that fine, whatever, but I ain't into it.
Yeah, and it wasn't.
And it has nothing to do with them being gay. I just don't. An X-Men book should be about the X-Men.
No, I didn't even mention them being gay. I
just wanted to.
Because here's the thing: you've had 16 issues of action, and then you give me this story, just kind of, just as you're rebooting, getting ready for the next 16 issues of action.
Yeah,
it's one thing. This is 17 issues in a row of this.
Right. And at some point, you just give Iceman and Romeo their own book.
Right. I mean, for the last 4 or 5 issues, it's been those two dating. And before that, it was Kid Apocalypse and Hank McCoy back lost in time somewhere. And
that was actually halfway decent.
Okay, if you say so. Whatever.
But yeah, we had Cyclops getting beat up in the Paris sewers, and then we had the love affair going on with Angel and Laura Kinney. And
yeah.
Where's
the team? What's the team getting something?
It's got this real, if the X-Men were a CW show. Like just all the love triangles and the teenage drama that goes on. Oh,
goodness gracious. That's a good analogy. I like that.
I like Arrow and Flash and all those shows, but some of their other stuff, your Vampire Diaries and your Valleydale or not Valleydale.
Riverdale. Anyway, it wasn't terrible. It was good art. I'm just over the story. I'm over it.
Objectively, it's a cute story, but I'm just like, dang, man, I can't. We're doing the IVX thing. Can we just see the IVX fight happening from their perspective?
That's all I want. That's all.
Yeah, like, can I just watch them fight as a team for once, because they never do anything as a team?
Yeah,
this team doesn't do anything as a team.
So now we're on to the Avengers, and we're going to take a side trip down Pat's little mind. I'm driving down the road yesterday, by the way, talking to Renee, and literally I forget what we're talking about. We were talking about the bills or what we just bought at the grocery store or something. And right in mid-sentence, I was like, oh, look at those flowers. Then we go back talking about the bills. And I was just, and then at the end of the sentence, I was like, what were those, hibiscus or what were those? And she was like, I don't know. I didn't even see the flowers. And I was like, well, I'm sorry. My mind kind of does this at the time. She's like, I've been married to you for 34 years and I've been with you for another 2. So I'm used to your mind rambling like that. And I was like, okay, cool. Good.
She just tunes it out.
Like, squirrel. Just ignores it. Anyway.
Yeah. So it's like the first 5 times your kid says mommy or daddy. You don't hear it.
Yeah. So anyway, we're getting to the Avenger section. While we're here in the Avenger section, I want you to go to the Browse tab and go to Avengers 2016. Open the book, the section that says Avengers 2016. Because what happens is every week you and I make a list of all the comics that came out this week. And we divide it into these sections, the event section and then the X-Men section, the Avenger section. And right now I'm fixing to review the Avenger section. We're going to come to the third book here in a moment. And then we're going to discuss what he finds in Avengers 2016 when we get there. And by the way, I got this cool new iPad. It's not new. It's an iPad Air 2, but I got a deal on it. And bless you. And I got a deal on it. Dude, I love my new iPad. Mm-hmm. I haven't got to talk about it yet. It's a cool iPad. Because what's cool is like when you open US Avengers 2 and you see that opening with Thanos, dude, that looked good, man. I mean, that was just... That was 2 or 3 pages. What it opens with is it's almost a what if story of what if when Thanos invaded Project Pegasus, the Ultimates, Ulysses hadn't warned the Ultimates and the Ultimates hadn't stopped him there. That's essentially what that opening was. And dude, it only lasted for 2 or 3 pages, but it was pretty cool because it was Danielle Cage from whatever future she's in. They call it 20XX because
yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah, okay, you catching up with me?
Yeah,
okay. So from whatever cage or future she was from, that's what happened. Is the Ultimates and the Avengers didn't stop him there at Project Pegasus. He's got his hands on the cosmic cubes and just killed everybody. And they beat him eventually, but it was obviously a bad day. So she's just kind of been going to alternate realities, trying to, much like Miss America, I believe it is.
Yeah. They're similar.
Yeah. Trying to figure out what's happening. And all the while, she's also chasing the Golden Skull, who is from her future. Now, as I was reading this, I'm sitting there looking at a Red Skull in the book, or excuse me, a Red Hulk in the book. And I'm thinking, okay, I got Green Hulks, Red Hulks, Blue Hulks. I hope I really don't start getting Red Skulls and Golden Skulls and Purple Skulls. And I hope I don't start getting different color skulls because I can't do more of a color pattern here.
Yeah.
Anyway,
let's not do that.
Yeah. So the Golden Skull's got this whole pirate thing going on. He wants wealth. He wants power. What he basically does is get a bunch of guys to help him. Then when he gets through robbing somewhere, he just kills everybody and keeps all the gold for himself. And finally, they determine where he's going to be. And it was funny because he's at a Wynn Hotel. And when you see it, this banquet that the Avengers wound up going to, it looks real close to Wayne Industries. I don't know if you caught that or not. Like the graphics and everything were just it almost said Wayne instead of Win. It was pretty cool. It was a nice homage. So, but the Golden Skull gets there first. He's got a trap set for him. Now there's a big fight set for issue 3. So there you go.
Yeah. I haven't hated this book.
No, the art was very good. Those first 2 or 3 pages with Thanos were great. I like the color that's going on in the book, even with the Golden Skull. And I think it's going somewhere. So yeah, I'm pretty cool with it. I like what they're doing here. What I also like is Ultimates number 3. Dude, this thing was just off the chain, man. You talk about the total package here: art, color, writing, storytelling, all of it. It is this book, and it begins with Jim Tinson, who we later learn he's running the Troubleshooters. I forget what his code name is, but he's got a bunch of recruits there teaching him how to use the Force, and how to maneuver things with your mind. He's Yoda, teach him how to use the Force.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Phil Vaught shows up and says, "Look, I want you to assemble a team to." At that point, it's to keep an Avengers team in check. It winds up being the Ultimates eventually, but he assembles the Troubleshooters. And from there, we skip back to the Superflow, which is where this really gets good, because Lord Chaos and Master Order have just killed the Living Tribunal. Again. Well, they did it at the end of last issue. I mean, they've killed him.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like the Living Tribunal died leading up to Secret Wars, and then you get a new universe and he just dies again.
Well, yes, he does. And here's what they're doing is they wanted Galactus turned back to the Destroyer. And the Living Tribunal said, no, the rules of this universe are still being worked out. This universe is still being established, and we don't have rules yet. So that means Galactus can be whatever he wants. He can be the Life Bringer. He can be the Destroyer. He can be whatever he wants, because the rules of this universe are being worked out. And Chaos and Order looked at each other and said, "Oh, well, okay. How about we kill you and take over?" So they did, and then they attacked Galactus. And at the end, they go to it's the In-Betweener, right? They go to the In-Betweener, and I'll just leave what happens there for issue 4 because it's really good. It's really good. But that leaves us back to the Troubleshooters, and they're looking for the Ultimates. And first they trace them to Blue Marvel's underwater base, wherever it happens to be. And there's that one guy who's really creepy, the one with the red hair and the glasses.
Yeah.
But the rest of them are like pretty cool. I
really don't know who they are.
I mean, he's just like wants to kill everybody, and dude, he's pretty creepy. So then from there, they finally we go back to the Ultimates who are on Galactus' ship. And as Galactus was fighting Lord Chaos and Master Order, he dispatched Connor Sims, who's his new herald, back to the Ultimates to tell them what happened and try and prevent it. And as he's getting there, that's about the time, I don't remember how this ends. That's about the time that the Troubleshooters show up. And I've read ahead to issues 4 and 5, so if I just gave you part of issue 4, well, I apologize. Great book.
Yeah, what happened with Chaos and Order and this In-Betweener guy?
That's to be revealed in issue 4.
Okay, because the very last panel is some sort of transformation into Logos.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, you want to wait for issue 4? Or you want me to tell you?
No, let's discuss it, because I don't. What happens is the two of them find this In-Betweener fella, and I don't really know his significance.
Who serves? He serves at the pleasure of Lord Chaos and Master Order, which is why he's that whole black and white thing, like you saw in that Star Trek episode that time. Right.
Right. He's got the duality thing going.
Right.
So Chaos eats him, and then Chaos is in turn eaten by Order, and they fuse to become this Logos thing. I assume some transcended higher order being.
Yes, what they have essentially done at this point is they have assumed the power of the Living Tribunal.
Mm-hmm.
They have killed the Living Tribunal and assumed his power. They have gone to the In-Betweener, who, if you discuss his history, which I'm not real familiar with, but is a very powerful character. They have what's the word I'm looking for? They've taken him back into themselves, and they have combined their own forces to become one being. So if independently they were already some of those powerful beings in the universe, what are they now that they're Logos?
Well, I can tell you what it looks like. It looks like I don't remember the name for them, but the angels that are described in the Old Testament. Yeah. The ones with all the faces and the arms and the wings and Anyway.
I should be kicked out of Sunday school for that.
Yeah, so should I.
In about 2 minutes, I'm going to say a word. I'll just blurt it out.
Anyway, so what are they exactly? Is it?
It's evolving to a higher power.
Okay. This book gets nuts, dude. That's why I like it, though.
You remember the guy that was babbling in issue 1?
Mm-hmm.
This is what he was babbling about.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So when I made the notes, I thought Avengers 3.1 came out this week, and now I can't find it. So
yeah, it was there for a day or two, and then it was gone.
Which is something that I did a couple of weeks ago. And I went looking for it while you were discussing the Spider-Man books. And I went to Avengers 2016. And I asked you to go there before I began speaking. Is that not a cluster?
Yes.
Because it's got the Avengers 2016 in it. It's got the 3.1 books in it. And then it's got a Monsters Unleashed book in it. And they're all right there in that same Avengers. You will never find these. A year from now, you will never find these books.
No, because they're all a part of each other, but not.
I could barely find them this time.
Dude. And that's awful because the main Avengers story going on is off the chain.
Yeah.
That Kang story is one of the best things I've read in a long time.
And it's just all thrown in there together. Like, oh, well, let's just throw it here. Here we go. Oh.
And I bet if you buy the collected editions, it's the same way. So you read.
Surely not, man. Surely not.
I'm sure you get 6 issues and you read 2 issues of this Avengers story with Kang and you go, dang, I want to know more about this. And then you get some backstory thing about the early days of the Avengers and you're like, what?
I finally got an email inviting you to join me a video call.
Oh, that's good. I thought so. Only 45 minutes later.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about 3.1 eventually, I guess.
Dude, I was looking for it. I'm like, where'd it go? What happened here? Okay. Black Panther, The World of Wakanda. This was okay. It had a lot with Ayo and Anika.
Yeah.
Going to New York. And what's basically happening is they're kind of getting on each other's nerves and getting on the leader of the Dora Milaje nerves. And she's like, look, y'all go away and work out your problems and come back when you get it done.
Yeah, just go to New York for a while.
Yeah, just go away. Don't go away mad, just go away. And all the while, there's another member of the Dora Milaje who is there and feels that they have betrayed the Black Panther and they've betrayed the throne by saying, we're not going to, because if you remember in the last issue, they said, we're not going to serve the Black Panther because Namor is the enemy of Wakanda and we serve Wakanda and he's the enemy and you're a traitor and we're not serving him. So she goes and tells the queen that, not realizing that the leader of the Dora Milaje has already told the queen, and the queen knows everything. And then they're attacked, and everybody's like, okay, let's get together and do this. So there you go. It's okay. It's not great.
Yeah, it was fine.
That was kind of my impression. It was, okay.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, it wasn't. I guess it moved the story along.
Yeah,
I guess
this book is getting canceled, correct?
No, I don't believe so.
Well, they canceled one or two of the Black Panther books. They canceled that Crew book, which
they canceled the Crew book almost immediately. But I don't know.
This is still ongoing.
I think so.
Okay.
What is good and what isn't getting canceled?
Yeah, it's Black Widow number 10. Yeah. It's funny. We'll talk about it in a minute, but let me just recap the book. So Black Widow, Bucky, and this lion kid go to the moon to meet with the Unseen, who is Nick Fury. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it has to do with the storyline Original Sin, which was actually not a great event, but the implications that happen, the things that happen in the consequences of that series is very good. Essentially, all the Watchers gathered to turn Nick Fury into the Unseen and basically make him a Watcher himself.
Yeah, I don't. The miniseries itself wasn't that great, but I think the purpose of it was some of the stories that spawned out from it, like Odin's son not being able to lift a hammer anymore. Bucky assuming the mantle that Nick Fury had. I think that was kind of the purpose of it and where it went.
Yeah, and the stories that have spun out of that have been much more interesting. So apparently the Unseen has some intel that they need. And the thing is, he's pretty indirect because given his new state of being, he's not able to interfere. So he has to deviate and do things differently to convey, if he wants to convey something. So the lion gets impatient with him and attacks him, and the Unseen basically shares with him an infinite amount of knowledge, so much that his head literally explodes, which was pretty cool.
I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
The Unseen was like, "You want knowledge? Here you go. Knock yourself out."
Yeah, I'll take care of that. Boom. Meanwhile, while he was doing that, the Unseen has left Black Widow and Bucky a message in the dirt, which I didn't understand what it said, but apparently it was some sort of spy.
Apparently it was in Russian.
Okay, whatever. The ship they came on has been hijacked by a stowaway and is leaving without them. And on the way back to the ship, Black Widow runs out of oxygen and almost dies. Bucky's able to revive her when they get back to the ship, and there's this little romantic scene between the two of them. And they deal with the stowaway, which is one of the kids from the Red Room.
Yes.
But so here's my thing. What was the point of this issue? They didn't get the information they needed. All they did was go. All that they accomplished in this issue was going to the moon, getting a dude killed, or him getting himself killed, almost dying, and then going back to Earth.
Well, it advanced that whole. What's the villain's name here? Lion. It advanced that whole Lion storyline. Got Nick Fury involved. Yeah, I mean, it moved things along.
Yeah, and we see the headmistress is up to no good at the very last page, or a couple pages.
As I look at this,
but the thing is I enjoyed the issue. It was a good, fun comic. But at the end, I was like, wait, hang on. It was really entertaining, but nothing happened.
As I look at this list of comics that we have here, things that are Deadpool, Sam Wilson, Black Widow, Mosaic, okay, and you're like, these are all random comics. Every one of these is going to tie into Sacred Empire. And every one of these is going to be important in it.
Yeah. Okay.
What the Widow is doing now with these kids is going to be.
It'll pay off in Secret Empire.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a feeling the intel that she stole from S.H.I.E.L.D. was some sort of dirt on Steve being Hydra. Am I wrong?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay.
That I don't know.
Because she'd be the first one to figure it out.
Yeah. That brings us to Cage number 4, which is, you know what, wasn't as bad as I thought.
This book is another one where I don't hate it. I actually kind of like the concept of it, and I think it's creative, but it's just not, I just don't like it enough to be willing to buy it or read it.
No, and what happened is Cage has fought all the monsters in the previous 3 issues. Once he got over being high, once he got over, Danny Rand and Dazzler and everybody else fighting the monsters, you just got to go back and read the first 3 issues yourself. I ain't recapping it. Now he gets to fight the monster in charge, which is Seuss. And apparently this dude's some kind of martial arts expert. First, Seuss gets the upper hand, then Cage beats him down. Then Cage is upset because he doesn't get anything for his victory. Then there's a big party back in New York where everybody celebrates what a great hero Luke Cage is. It's one of those things. It's like, okay, I'm not going to pay $10 a month to get HBO and watch this show. But if I'm just laid bored on the couch for Saturday morning for 30 minutes and this show came on, I'd probably watch it and go, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I would describe it. I like it. I just don't like it enough to pursue it.
Yeah. It's definitely got the whole, Scotty Young art kind of thing going on, and it's it's a different kind of art. It's set in a different time period.
Right. It's a little on the goofy side.
Yeah, it's so it's its own thing. And if you're into it, cool. If you're not, well, you didn't pay $4.99 for it, so be lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Captain America Sam Wilson number 18 was actually pretty decent this week. So Rage gets arrested, which if you have seen what Rage has been doing the last few issues is not really a surprise to you. But this time he's actually innocent. So Sam goes to bust him out of jail, but Rage declines, saying that he wants to change things from the inside. And after asking for lots of advice, Sam Wilson decides to do the right thing and release the surveillance footage that he has that demonstrates AmeriCop's brutality and proves Rage innocent.
And who did he get advice from?
Steve Rogers, who is part of Hydra.
There we go.
Yeah, I thought about that too. Yeah. It's a good book. I summed it up rather quickly, but it's a solid book, man. If you've liked what's going on in most of this series, you'll like this.
Yeah, and here's our issue: is we're quickly approaching the 1 hour mark, and when we're getting 25 books a week, some of these we can't do justice. So you just gotta kind of roll with us. Yeah, which brings us to Deadpool and the Mercs for Money number 7. Which wasn't bad. It's an IVX tie-in that I really don't understand. This whole series is about Megasonic Teenage Warhead. Megasonic Warhead?
Megasonic Teenage Warhead, yeah.
Whatever she is. Yeah, whatever she is. The girl from the Deadpool movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's been around for a long time, but...
Yeah, but she was kind of a character, and now
she was always kind of a background mutant, and she got some spotlight. She was actually portrayed really well by a talented actress in the movie, and that's what got the attention.
And now she's been bumped up to the major leagues. And this is an IVX tie-in that goes, it starts 5 years in the future, where the Inhumans won the war. Apparently, by Warhead blowing up the Terrigen Cloud, and they're looking for her and they spend the whole issue looking for her, get a couple of flashbacks in time. Finally, at the end of the issue, Deadpool finds her and says, "This is what I want you to do." And you're like, "Oh, okay." Yeah. It's
all right.
It's not bad. And this is one of those things where I think when this story is condensed, both issues 1 through 6 and what would probably now be issues 7 through 12, and you sit down and read it in an arc just in one sitting, you'll say, "Oh, that's pretty good."
Yeah. But just as a standalone issue, maybe not the best shot.
It was kind of confusing, kind of hard to follow. It wasn't bad. I mean, dude, you got the Hitmonkey and Deadpool and Domino, fighting Karnak and Triton and a couple other Inhumans. I mean, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't great. And what was even worse was Deadpool to Duck number 2.
I couldn't even read this,
dude. It just. I mean, Wade is stuck in Howard's body. Rocket's got rabies. The Answer's in space. They're dragging Rocket's body around. Howard's talking to Wade inside Howard's body the whole time. They go to a Roxxon space station that blows up, and dude, it's just. And if nothing else, Wade's puking the whole time in Howard's body, and I don't understand. It's just that, dude.
It's just off the wall.
It's just bizarre. I mean, about the only thing entertaining in it is I really like the coloring in this book, and that's it's not bad art. Actually, it's pretty good art, and it's really. I like bright colors that really pop. And it really does in this book, which is the redeeming quality to it.
Marvel is doing that a lot, and it's really working for them.
Yeah.
They're doing it with their covers, and they're doing it with their art. It's all colored really beautifully. I mean, look at that Daredevil book. Look at, Spider-Gwen, this book even. All of it just is stunning to look at.
Yeah. And this one is. And I don't, as we move to Gamora, I never get Esad Ribiqu's coloring, because he does this great artwork, but his colors are always so soft and light, like watercolors.
Yeah.
I mean,
it may be watercolor or something like it.
And I'm golly.
Do you not like it?
Yeah. There's an impressionist I'm trying to think of who used soft colors like this. Anyway, it's always real soft colors, and it's not bad. It's just, I don't know. The Secret War was like this the whole time.
Yeah. Well, Esad Ribic only did the cover. He didn't do the interior art.
Right, but I'm happen to be looking at the cover, and it's just, it's just, we were talking about bright colors that pop, and I've actually got the covers open beside me. So on either side of it, I've got the Deadpool to Duck cover and the Invincible Iron Man cover, which are two covers that really pop. And in between, I've got that Esad Ribic Gamora cover. It's just kind of and it's not bad. It's just kind of a dull watercolor thing.
Yeah, it works for. I think some things it works and some things it doesn't. I actually really like his art, but it'd be a really cool. Like, I could see a Darth Vader series with this kind of coloring would be really neat.
Yeah, see, that would be neat. I just sometimes wish his colors would pop more than they do.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gamora number 2.
Yeah. So Gamora is being pursued by, I don't remember exactly, some dudes, and she flies to the event horizon of a black hole in order to. Her goal is to capture them in the event horizon so that they get sucked into the black hole and she somehow escapes. That kind of works, except she gets stuck there too and ends up landing on this planet that's about to be sucked into the black hole. It's not in the black hole yet, but it's outside. And the implication is that this planet will be sucked into the black hole and destroyed in a couple of days.
Yeah.
So on the surface of this planet, we meet this woman with green hair, and she's shaking some dudes down for some sort of payment for. They call it dust. It's some sort of drug, I suppose. So the thing with this whole planet is it's basically an apocalyptic wasteland. It's about to be sucked into a black hole, and so you can imagine that, it's a pretty desolate place. We meet her pusher guy or whoever she's collecting dust for and getting paid. He's meeting with one of the Badoon. I think that's a Badoon.
I don't know. I thought the girl with green hair was Polaris for the first couple of pages.
I wondered about that for a minute, and I thought, nah, I just don't think so.
Well, she and Havoc were out in space for so long, and I haven't really seen her on Earth since. And I thought, well, maybe Havoc dumped her out there. Well, hanging around with Janet Van Dyne, and
that's a possibility.
Yeah, maybe when he got the Wasp knocked up and had that kid, he left her out there.
So Gamora's ship gets slung into the surface of this planet, and they happen to see it. Green-haired lady jumps in to help her. They fight off basically this weird alien death cult that wants her for whatever reason. That doesn't really work out well for her, and all of a sudden Gamora gets captured by this weird alien death cult, and they intend to sacrifice her to stop the black hole.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was okay.
Yeah. What was really good was Invincible Iron Man #3.
Yeah, I enjoyed this too.
And this is the issue. And I was wondering where it would happen, where we see, because we've talked about this, and you were warned about spoilers at the top of the show. We know that Tony's AI is Tony Stark.
Yes, for all intents and purposes.
If you had any doubt about it, this issue solidifies it. It's his personality, his intelligence, his brain downloaded into a computer, and it's manifesting itself through this artificial intelligence. And so, turns out Tony left his mom running the company, which was pretty funny because I forget who this dude is. It keeps showing up demanding to know things, and he's harassing Mary Jane Watson. And then Friday shows up and he starts getting irritated because he has to interface with another AI, which is Friday. And then he meets Tony Stark's mom, and apparently he's like her one big fan. And Tony Stark's mom, and I forget her name, really don't care, calms the guy down and runs him off. And she and Friday and Mary Jane come up with a plan to run the company and hopefully make some money with it. And then we finally cut to Riri Williams, of course, Ironheart, who's arguing with Tony about the armor. Actually, they're just arguing about everything.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Yes, they're just arguing about everything. She's actually looking for a mute button, just anything to shut him up, because they're just arguing. And I was wondering, I was going to ask you this, as we go through the panels here, they're arguing, Tony's discussing with her, he's kind of psychoanalyzing with her, and we see her fighting different villains. She's like fighting the Rhino at one point. At one point, she's like with the Champions. And I don't know how many, there's several super villain fights there over several panels. And I don't know if this is like days or weeks or how long this takes.
Yeah, I think it's over a series of time. I think it's meant to show that this is an ongoing conversation between them.
Yeah. And finally, and I think Tony got to where he wanted to, and I'm calling him Tony because
it's Tony.
As we're about to learn, it's Tony. He finally gets to where he wants to, which is getting her to deal with the loss of her friend and her father by the death of a gunman.
Stepfather.
Father.
Yeah, it's her stepfather.
And her best friend at the loss of a gunman. He names her Ironheart. About that time, Pepper Potts shows up in the rescue armor, refuses to have a conversation with the Tony Stark AI, which lasts all of about 10 seconds. And then she's conversing with the Tony Stark AI. It's hilarious. It's really good. And then they're attacked. I assume it's those two Japanese girls sent these guys to get them.
The ninjas. It's the Moonlight Ninja Fight Beach Party from.
Yeah, it's those guys.
So ago.
There's some great interaction here. First between Riri and Tony, and then between Riri, Tony, and Pepper. This is great. It really is.
Yeah, the book is really hitting its stride here with #3.
Yeah, you were kind of waiting for it, and this is where it did it.
Yeah, this is where it did it, and it's going to be good from here on out, I feel like.
Yeah, I thought so.
What else was really good was Mosaic. Did you read Mosaic at all?
This is one of those I didn't get to read.
So this is number 4.
And you and I discussed this on the phone. We're trying to put together, the Defenders come out a couple of weeks on Netflix.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to put together the what next episode for the Defenders. And dude, I fell into this black hole over the weekend of trying to figure out how to put together a reading list for that show. And it was just this black hole that I got sucked into. And I got notes and I got all kinds of stuff. And I wound up not getting this stuff read. Basically, if it wasn't something I had to read, it didn't get read because I got sucked into the Defenders black hole. Anyway.
Okay.
That's what happened. Yes.
If you remember at the end of the last issue, Morris jumps into Spider-Man. And in this pretty much this whole issue is him dealing with that, because this is, before he's pretty much been able to jump into people and take control and figure out and get his bearings. But this is Spider-Man. This is different. And so he spends the first little while in here just absolutely overloaded with information. It's a testament to how fast Peter Parker's brain moves. And he's just being bombarded with information and memories, particularly of villains and things like that, that he and things that he just things that things about physics and science that are just overloading him. So it takes him a while to get his bearings. And eventually he kind of tries to start digging into who this dude is. He realizes the importance of this is Spider-Man, and that there's something to be learned here. And of course, Spider-Man's brain thinks he's trying to find his secret identity, so it literally begins fighting back against him. Like, he actually has to fight what looks like Peter Parker with just some pantyhose on his head. Fights him, trying to keep him away from the memories that he's trying to access. So eventually he does, and it's the Uncle Ben speech. You're a good kid, Peter, and with great power comes great responsibility. And Morris's reaction to that is not what I expected. First of all, he's like, dude, this is the big secret you're trying to hide. Why would you try to hide this from me? Second, no, it's, that's not how it is. It's me, and it's all for me, and I'm special. And he's going to essentially he's fighting for not the greater good, but for himself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It's his philosophy is my destiny is to rise above this. So eventually he wrangles control of Peter Parker's body and jumps off to go do whatever he needs to do, which is essentially he breaks into his dad's office and starts going over all his dad's paperwork.
Yeah. J. Jonah Jameson will have a field day with Peter Parker or Spider-Man doing that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anyway, it was pretty good. I don't know where it's going from here, how long he'll be in possession of Spider-Man, but it was a really cool issue. You ought to read it.
I plan on it.
The ideological struggle between the two characters was really well written.
Cool.
What was also not terrible is Patsy Walker number 14. So Black Cat captured all these people with her. She's got these claws that allow her to control people's minds. They don't know what to do about it. They all go back to Patsy's place to grab some sleep. Jubilee shows up the next morning with coffee and donuts so they can go hunting for Black Cat. Meanwhile, the Black Cat and her gang rob a bank. Back at the lair, Patsy and her crew show up. Jubilee, using her invisible vampire powers, sneaks up on Black Cat and gets her to remove her mind control claws. She loses her mind control over all of her minions, and they're able to do her in, essentially.
When did Patsy Walker go from being great to being okay?
Actually, this issue wasn't half bad.
Okay.
But it's been it's hit or miss.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, it's not. It's okay. This issue was a little better than most.
Yeah. Yeah. That brings us to Squadron Supreme number 15, which is the last issue of this series. And
oh, is it?
It is. I don't know if it's definitely written that way. I don't know if it was planned as a limited series heading into Secret Empire. I don't know what they were doing here, but it made for a good arc because what we see here is, of course, the end of last issue, we had Namor and Hyperion fighting Nighthawk, and it's just over. I mean, they're back at the base, and basically everybody's telling Nighthawk, dude, peace out. We're done here. Because Nighthawk is going off the rails. They started out as a group wanting to do good, and they've gone so far off the rails that they don't even know what good is anymore. And Nighthawk's just got his own version of what is and isn't good. And Nighthawk, Hyperion asked him why he attacked him. And Hyperion's like, dude, you don't stand a chance against me. You definitely don't stand a chance against me and Namor together. So why did you attack us? And apparently, a few issues back when Nighthawk saw Ulysses, he saw Nighthawk and Hyperion fighting and just thought, because he's Nighthawk, he's just like, hey, well, I'll go ahead and jump you now while I have a chance. And Hyperion was like, dude, take your best shot. Take it then, take it now, take it whenever. I don't care. You're not going to win this fight. He's like, dude, I don't care.
I'll vaporize you and throw you into the sun.
Yeah, it was pretty much laughing at him, and he left. And basically, that's the book. Hyperion helps Namor rebuild Atlantis over the period of a few weeks. Tundra takes her daughter and lives at Weird World. And then Hyperion and Nighthawk both go on their solo adventures that we saw months ago in their solo books. Nighthawk in Chicago, and Hyperion becoming Mark and driving a truck around and beating up a bunch of dudes in a carnival.
Okay.
So if that makes sense to you, there you go.
All right. Yeah, Marvel has a really cool character with Nighthawk, and I think they're squandering him.
Yeah, his book didn't work out the way they wanted it to. And
I feel like that's one of those series that they should have just put their head down and pushed forward, and it would have gained some notoriety eventually. That's one of those that, yeah, it doesn't sell great, but the work you're doing in it is greater than is more valuable than the money it makes.
I forget if it was on that podcast that you and I listened to last week, or where I heard someone explain it, but these things show up in previews, and they cancel it with issue 6. When they cancel it with issue 6, they're looking at all they have are the sales figures from issue 2. So let's think about that, because that's how long it takes to get issue out. So when something like Nighthawk gets canceled with issue 6, what they did was look at the sales of issue 1, look at the sales of issue 2, and say, done, not going any further. And that's not really fair. I mean, that's just not,
no.
It takes longer than that to to give, and I think that was a lot of the criticism when Nighthawk got canceled and a couple of these other books got canceled, is you got to give it time to breathe. You got to give it time to
I mean, at least give it 6 issues. I mean, if you're going to greenlight the project, why not give it 6 issues?
And they would say if
you're not willing to give it 6 issues, then
don't
do it at all.
You give it 6 issues of sales, which would essentially be 10 or 12 issues on the stand.
Right.
Yeah, and they don't want to go to the expense of 10 or 12 issues if they don't think it's working.
Okay.
And the retailers, the retailers are stuck because they can't return things to the distributor, so they're like, it's Nighthawk, man. I mean, I've only got so much shelf space. I've only got, how many copies of this am I going to sell? So maybe they order 1 copy, maybe they order 5 copies, maybe they order 10 copies, and then you go into the comics that are here in Memphis, or you go into Bob's Comics down there, and you want it, but you can't find it because there are no issues to be had because they don't know how many to order. Do you order 1? Do you order 20? Who knows?
Because he ordered 2 issues, and one of them was for somebody's pull list, and the other was just on the shelf and got snatched up.
Yeah. And that's not even talking about, the trap that Marvel sets with them with all these alternate covers, where Marvel's trying to suck money out of the retailers by with these alternate, because some of the alternate covers are just a flat, okay, you order 10 copies, you order 25 copies, you order 100 copies. But some of them, and what everybody wants are the Scotty Young covers. So a lot of the times to get a Scotty Young cover, what you have to do, let's say you have to increase your sales or your purchases for the retailer by 150% over the first issue. So if you ordered 100 copies or 10 copies of issue 1, you got to order 15 copies of issue 2. Or if it was 50 copies, it's got to be 75. If it was 100, it's got to be 150. They're making it incredibly hard for these distributors to get some of these covers that everybody wants, and some of the distributors are just going to screw it. I'm not even dealing with them.
Yeah, and I understand why.
Yeah.
And maybe one day we'll do a whole episode on it, but the business model that is used to sell comic books to the direct market is a mess.
It's a train wreck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What wasn't a total train wreck was Star-Lord #2. So if you remember, Peter Quill got arrested last issue, and he's in his court hearing, and he's got a crappy lawyer, and the guy arguing against him is Matt Murdock. And they're about to just, I don't know, deport him from Earth or whatever. And all of a sudden, Agent Brand comes in, basically threatens to reveal Matt Murdock's identity, and says, if you'll release him into my custody, we'll make sure he doesn't do anything like this again. So he has to do community service. And he has to go hang out with old people, and that's his community service. So he takes this grumpy old man out on a walk to go get ice cream or something, and they run across a bank robbery. So he decides to jump in and stop the bank robbery, but before he can really do that, Miss Marvel shows up, deals with the bank robbers rather swiftly. In fact, Peter Quill kind of messes things up, and yeah, he has this.
Well, basically, without his guns,
he's nothing.
He's nothing, and all he had was his helmet, and he didn't have a whole lot going on there.
Right.
He could fly, but it wasn't enough of a power to really stop what was happening.
And then he gets yelled at by Miss Marvel for being irresponsible, and maybe he is irresponsible. Anyway, he takes the old dude back to his apartment, and some dude's going through it. Turns out to be his son. and he's able to hook his the older gentleman's able to hook up Peter with a job through his son by being a bartender at the Bar with No Name. The Bar with No Name is where all the supervillains go to hang out.
Yeah, that should be entertaining.
Yeah, that'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah. Did you? It was all right. It wasn't great. It was all right. Did you read Captain Marvel #1?
It wasn't a complete train wreck. I did read Captain Marvel #1.
No, it wasn't a complete train wreck. How many issues are we saying that about this week?
Not a ton.
Okay. Well, this Captain Marvel #1 was pretty good. I've got some questions, and that's why I'm asking.
I read it.
Okay. So we begin with Carol Danvers, who apparently is so popular now. She has her own TV show, and she has to go watch shooting of it for 2 or 3 panels with Jessica Drew, which is pretty entertaining. And what she really wants is just to be pulled away from the agony of having to watch that TV show being filmed about herself with too much cleavage showing. That's her complaint, not mine. Yeah. That's hers. And sure enough, someone from the Alpha Flight space station calls her, and there's an alien internment camp, and there's a girl there being kidnapped. And it turns out she's being kidnapped by a shapeshifter. So Carol gets there, takes the girl, and puts her into this capsule. She fights the shapeshifter, puts her in this capsule, and takes the capsule up to the Alpha Flight space station, which doesn't seem like the best idea in the world to me, but it seemed to work for Carol at that time. And then she tries to figure out what she's going to do with this little girl and what she's going to do with all these refugees that she's getting because of the Chitauri, who are just storming their way across the galaxy to get to the eggs that Steve Rogers is planting on that dude's farm. So, basically the Chitauri are creating chaos. And
wait, what?
Hello.
He planted eggs on a farm?
Yes.
Where did that happen?
The last Captain America book. The Chitauri are basically gestate in eggs.
Yeah, no.
And their queens are on this dude's farm. So the reason that the Chitauri keep attacking the Earth
is because the queen's there. No, I understand that. I just don't remember when. I just don't remember any of those eggs being put on some dude's farm.
Oh, dude, it was like, he went in the farm because you keep seeing Steve Rogers talk to this farmer, and like, yeah, man, crops growing good, everything's cool, And
is this happening in?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was the last Captain America book. That Trial of Maria Hill.
I'd have to go back and look, but that doesn't ring a bell to me.
All right, I'll see if I can find it in just a moment.
Okay.
So anyway, so that's why the Chitauri keep coming, and that's why we're being flooded with so many refugees.
Right.
So she appeals, she being Carol Danvers, the mighty Captain Marvel, not to be confused with the other Captain Marvel book, appeals to the Alpha Flight board, of which, by the way, Steve Rogers happens to be a member, over what to do with the refugees. And apparently her TV show is funding this space station, I guess, is what they say here. And they said, look, you got to worry about the TV show because this is where you're getting your money for your funding. And Carol stands there and argues with them about the stupidity of that, and then kind of gives them a middle finger and walks off. And at that point, the bounty hunter appears, and I really lost track of this last page because the little kid leaves with Carol, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the bounty hunter appears. Is that on the space station or is that down at the internment camp?
Let me go back and find it.
So, and then you realize that the bounty hunter is the shapeshifter, and he assumes the persona of Captain Marvel. But I don't really understand where it's happening at or where the bounty hunter came from. If he came out of the capsule, if the capsule was in the Alpha Flight space station, because it looked like there was some fencing there that made it look like it might be on the ground. And I really got kind of confused there at the end of the issue.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember now. Yeah, it was a little confusing. Yeah, and maybe that it's meant to be because you're going to have this who's really Captain Marvel thing going on.
Okay. All right. So it wasn't just me. It really was confusing.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be.
Okay, good. Just wanted to clarify that. All righty, cool. All right, good issue. Very good issue.
Yeah.
Yep. Which brings us to, oh, I'm still up. Gwenpool number 10. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was still up. I was actually looking for a Captain America book. Gwenpool number 10. What do you think of this Gwenpool book? Just overall.
I want to like it more than I actually like it.
That's a good summary. That's a good summary. You want to like Gwenpool. You want to like the character. You want to like Gwen Stacy. You want to see her do well here, and it just
you want to see that character. The idea of an alternate Gwen Stacy who is also Deadpool is funny almost in a morbid way, and I like her being teamed up with Batroc because it's funny. The book can be funny, and I like that, but it's just not hitting on all cylinders for me.
I can tell you, it's selling well.
It's not going anywhere anytime soon.
It ain't going anywhere because it's selling so good. So we may as well get used to it. It opens with this splash page. I'm old. I realize that. The cover is the scene from Patton, where Patton is standing. It's the first scene from Patton where he's standing in front of the giant American flag. And she's addressing all the Gwenpool characters. So
that's funny.
Everyone is, I don't know if anyone recognized that homage or not, but anyway,
surely.
So you'd be surprised.
It's one of the most iconic scenes in film history.
Dude, I talk about movies like Patton and The Longest Day, and people just like, what? They don't even know what I'm talking about.
Uncultured swine.
Yes. So anyway, Gwenpool sets about trying to free her associates from where they've been captured by the Doombot. And it leads to this giant fight with the alien squids. Lord, I wish I was making this up. Which just lays waste to the neighborhood. Finally, the Doombot says, this isn't what I wanted. I wanted peace and harmony in the neighborhood. So he sets about helping her defeat the squids and restore peace. At some point, Dr. Doom is watching on TV, and he's like, well, the Doombot wants to do good. That's good. And okay. and then we cut, finally she gets the mercs free, and she's like, okay, now we got to rescue all the guys, that battalion of guys that she had to help break them out. They're okay, now we got to raise money and get them out of jail. And it's Batroc and the other guys, and they're like, no, we're over this. Because when MODOK was in charge, we were successful and profitable, and now we're not successful and we're not profitable, and we're over it. Sorry. Peace out. And she's upset, and Batroc, she and Batroc had this conversation because she did the right thing. She actually did. She actually did the thing she was supposed to do, but it didn't work out in the end. And Batroc makes the point. It's actually a pretty good point. Batroc makes the point. He says, hey, I'm the one that's better at fighting Captain America than anybody. And you know who's been beat up more by Captain America than anybody? Me. So doing the right thing doesn't always work out for you. Sorry.
All right.
It's not a bad book. It's pretty good. I mean, it's not terrible. Again, we're saying these words. It's not terrible. It's just not great. And I wanted that Gwenpool book to be better than it was.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's not something I'd be buying if I were buying them off the rack.
No, absolutely not.
No. What I wouldn't mind buying off the rack is Venom. And Venom number 3 was another, it wasn't a surprise, but it was another strong showing in this new Venom series. So I was really enjoying the Venom Space Knight stuff with Flash Thompson, and they have taken this in a completely different direction. And if you have been listening for a while, you know that I've was not looking forward to this change. However, I'm enjoying this more than I thought I would. Because what they do is they don't make the focus of the narrative the host of the symbiote. They make it the symbiote itself. You know, the dialogue, or not the dialogue, but the inner monologue that you have through a lot of this, the last couple issues, is the inner monologue of the Clintar, of the Venom symbiote. And what they've done is they, after it was purified, it was then it's now being paired up with an evil person again, and it's trying to resist that. Which is it takes the whole Venom dynamic and puts it on its head.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and the symbiote doesn't. It's pretty cool because the symbiote doesn't. At one point, he keeps him alive, and doesn't, because it doesn't want to see him die, but knows the consequences of keeping him alive.
Right, like he gets ambushed in this alleyway by a nervous young cop, along with this Firefly dude, Firebug, whatever. And the symbiote tries to flee from his host. I can't remember the dude's name. He's a character we've not met, I don't think.
I was trying to remember his name too, and I can't.
Or we didn't meet before this. Anyway, as the Venom symbiote tries to leave him, dude gets shot in the chest, and the Venom symbiote has to make a decision. Does it leave and go find a new host, one that'll be better, or let this guy die? And of course, the Venom symbiote wants to do the right thing, so he goes back to his old host and basically heals his gunshot wound. But he takes him off to this dude's apartment, and they kind of have this whole conversation about right versus wrong and their motivations. When the other cop, the veteran cop, kicks dude's door in, points a gun at him, and says, "Listen, you're going to work for us, and if you don't work for us, my partner who's across the street will shoot a massive bomb into this apartment and kill us all." So now you have another layer here. It's a guy who he's a bad guy in possession of a Venom symbiote that wants to do good, and now they're being forced to work for the police. It's actually pretty good. And also there's a little scene at the end with Matt Gargan, and they show off the Scorpion armor, so apparently he's going to be the Scorpion again.
Yeah, there you go. Before you begin Star Wars, it's Captain America number 8. Captain America number 8, the first page begins on a farm in Montana, and the last page ends on a farm in Montana. Everything else happens in space, but those 2 pages happen on a farm in Montana.
Okay. It's been a while since I've read that one, so yeah, I'll have to go back.
It's been a couple of months, obviously, but yeah, that's where it happens. And it's only 2 pages there. Obviously the first page and the last page, but it's in the last page. On the last page, he's looking at 6 eggs that are ready to hatch.
Well, that's no good.
Yeah, which is why and Steve Rogers is explaining to Dr. Selvig that's why the Chitauri keep coming.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on over to the Star Wars universe, we have Dr. Aphra number 3. So her father have made it to Yavin 4, where they are going to they want to inspect the Masazi temples there. Unfortunately for them, that's where the rebels just were. That was the rebel base, the one that we see in the first Star Wars movie. And now the Empire's there investigating, and there's a huge Imperial army that they'd rather not run afoul of, and are crawling all over the temple. So, in order to distract the Imperial army, they send one Wookiee out against all of them. And he basically it's this one, it's Black Kirsten, the Wookiee that's been traveling with her. And he, through the whole issue, he basically lays waste to all these stormtroopers and all of this Imperial army while they go check out this temple.
So I find it pretty entertaining.
Yeah, it's really funny because he's just, I mean, at first it's a couple stormtroopers, then it's like a whole platoon of stormtroopers, then it's like one of the walkers, then it's another one of the walkers, then it's like the whole military presence that's on the planet, and he's just wiping them out one by one.
Yeah, and her dad's like, "How do you think this is going to work?" She's like, "Don't worry about it. I got it."
Yeah, he's good for it.
Yeah.
Then they finally infiltrate the temple. They find this one room where it's supposed to be important. They place all these crystals in certain patterns on the ground, and they didn't think anything happened at first, but apparently some beam of light shoots down and hits all the top of all the temples that are on the planet, and it has some sort of significance to this order respect to thing going on. It's a good issue, but for me, the most interesting part of the book continues to be what's going on with these temples. The Masazi, and if anybody's a Star Wars buff, you know that the Masazi temples have a great deal to do with not just the Jedi, but also the Sith. So them kind of exploring this is really, it's right up my alley.
Well, there you go.
And the Masazi have always been mysterious. They're an extinct species and have been for a long time, and no one's ever really been sure about what their role has been in this whole thing. Only that they did play a significant role in the eternal conflict between Sith and Jedi.
Right.
Yeah. So, Pat, what was your favorite book this week?
Oh, it's got to be the Ultimates. I mean, I wish I could go with something else. The Captain Marvel book wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed U.S. Avengers. I enjoyed the Clone Conspiracy, but dude, it's got to be the Ultimates.
Okay. I don't know, man. Mosaic was pretty good. I really enjoyed Mosaic. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
I'm hoping to read it very soon.
Venom too. So we'll call it a tie between that and Venom, because
that Venom book was good. I looked at the sales of that Venom book and I thought, what is making that Venom book so good? And dude, I understand now why that thing's selling so well.
Yeah, I wasn't happy about where this was going to go in after the Space Knight thing, because I was really enjoying that, but I'm enjoying this too. So, yeah, game on.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. The dump this week was more late 90s, early 2000s Iron Man. Check it out. It's actually pretty decent. The art, at the very least, the art's good.
I thought this was the She-Hulk week.
We got She-Hulk too. It was a bunch of classic She-Hulk stuff. So also worth a read if you're into She-Hulk.
Very old She-Hulk stuff.
It's really old She-Hulk stuff. It's late 70s, early 80s She-Hulk stuff.
Dude, I mean, it's literally the original series.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
Too. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Also, go read House of M. If you haven't read it, or you just haven't read it in a long time, we talk about that on What's Next this week. As Pat has mentioned earlier, there'll probably be another What's Next this week, just talking about the Defenders. If you want to get in touch with us, email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter at 6monthsbehind, and visit the website
www.6monthsbehind.com.
And Pat, before we go, as always, do you have a little wisdom to share for our true believers?
This applies to you and I. It does. We are best friends. Always remember that if you fall, I will pick you up right after I finish laughing.
Well, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Peace.
Bye.